Well, it is 2:00, so I think I will just call the meeting to order. Do we have a quorum though? I know that Linda cannot be with us because of a family emergency. Other than that, we have 6 of us.
Yeah, that should do it, right?
Yeah, that's all we need.
That's it. Okay. So I'm calling the meeting to order today, Wednesday. It's April 7th. And I will do the roll call. Dick Cooner.
Here.
I skipped myself. I'll go back. Mary Ann Abadi, present. Dr. Copeland.
Here.
Danielle Angelari.
Here.
Oh, you're hiding on us. Dr. Bill Gorski.
Here.
Dr. Terry Giardini. Dr. Julie Morris.
Here.
Tim Neighbors.
Here.
And Linda Sanquist. And then our advisory members are Wendy Larson Bennett.
Present.
Right. And Jay Ware.
I'm here.
Very good. And then, of course, Jason Holcomb is present. So we have no public comment requests for today. So we can move right into our action items, of which there are quite a few. First of all, I need a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a first and a motion and a second, but we will have to do the roll call for our vote. So again, Mary Ann Abadi, approved. Dick Cooner,
Approved.
Dr. Ed Copeland,
Approve.
Danielle Angelari,
Approved.
Dr. Bill Gorski,
Approve.
Dr. Terry Giardini, Dr. Julie Morris,
Approved.
Tim Neighbors,
Approve.
and Linda Sanquist. Okay, moving on to the second is the proposed language for SB Senate Bill 2278. And at this point, Dick, I'm going to let you take this, but before I go any further, I just want to remind everyone to please raise your hand and don't speak until you're called on, because the way that this is being YouTubed and it's hard to see if we're talking over one another or hard to hear. So Jason made that request so that we can get a clear recording of these meetings. So that's just a reminder. But going back to our proposed language for Senate Bill 2278, and Dick, I thought I would let you explain this.
Is Danielle have a question?
Oh,
I just want to say I had to leave early because I'm going to get my vaccination at 3. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, all right.
Yay.
All right.
Yeah, we'll get all the action items in hopefully before you leave, okay?
Okay. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
Okay. So this language that you have before you
In your packets.
in your packet, which has what from the Illinois Code is, so 55 Illinois Code 55100.5. The history of this, folks, is when we started the committee to even go after the tax referendum, it was always we always wanted, to be honest, House Bill 7 mental health approach to governance of a mental health board in a county or in some sort of governmental jurisdiction. Obviously, with the sales tax, we're in a whole new venture. And when the resolutions were passed at a county level, even supporting a mental health fund, there, there was not the language in the resolutions that in effect created the mental health board mirroring House Bill 708 at this county level. Early on, I had a conversation with Chuck Horrock, the former assistant state's attorney, and talked to him about this. And what you have before you is his rendering of language that would in effect create what it is that we desire. Namely, that under the cover of a county sales tax, there would be a mental health board that would in effect be able to conduct business mirroring what mental health boards are allowed to do or given authority for under House Bill 708. And so that's what you're looking at. And this is, so when we're having the discussion going on about changes in legislation right now, particularly with Senator Stadelman, this is what we would recommend for our language to be legal, to legally establish this mental health board under the sales tax legislation.
And Dick, could I add that the reason this came up really is because the county board has asked, because this bill came up in the Senate in Illinois. Senator Stadelman was trying to strengthen this whole Community Mental Health Act as being able to be applicable for sales tax as well as property tax, because that's what it's really intended for, is a property tax. But in doing so, the language that's in the current bill right now is really not, it really doesn't clearly or thoroughly define what Dick just explained to you. It still is, it's too vague. And we want to make this very clear. And this language was put together by Chuck Horrock. And we hope to be able to recommend to the county board after we discuss this today, and if we approve this language, that this is the language the mental health board would like to see, if in fact, because on their agenda for this Thursday night is this particular Senate bill, and they're going to either oppose or propose, or they'll be in favor of it. But at this time, based on what they've been advised by Senator Stadelman and the state's attorney, that it looks like they're going to oppose the bill. They're not in favor of the current language, which would be, in my opinion, good. But we don't want them to struggle with wording when we already had an expert put this together for us and clarify it at the time that we were struggling with how a mental health board could even be put together. So this is what we're recommending in terms of new language. Yeah, Bill.
So I just trying to wrap my mind around this. So appreciate both of your explanations. So this wording that we're seeing right now would go before the county board on Thursday.
Well, it's informally. We're meeting tomorrow. We're having a discussion with Chairman Chiarelli and Patrick Thompson. It's really people they're involving, and then Dick and I and Jason. So it's perfect timing because this is on their agenda. If you look on the county board agenda meeting, this is one of the items that they're either going to approve or oppose.
Okay.
So yes.
So approving, and that would happen still tomorrow night or?
Thursday night for them. Oh, Tim, you have something to add to this.
So the resolution that they come up with has already been decided on in the finance committee. So
Oh, really?
yes, so it's kind of late. So they'll be voting on that resolution. So it'd still be good to talk to Chairman Shirelli and Patrick Thompson tomorrow, just to get their input. But when I presented this wording to them
Yes.
in caucus, they said it was very similar to what they were looking for. And also the other thing was we got to remember that it's good for us to have a communication with the county board, but in order to make it stand good, it'll be good to send a letter ourselves to Senator Stottleman instead of, just relying on the county board.
Well, I agree. They're not the only ones that'll give input to him. I think that's a great recommendation that we communicate that. Bill.
Yeah, well, that was the second part of my question. So assuming and hoping that this is approved, the language that we're desirous of, then the next step would be it goes to the state via Senator Stottleman.
Yes,
Okay, got it.
yes.
Wendy.
You're muted, dear.
She's trying.
Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone. Okay, so this was actually a colossal misunderstanding on in a variety of ways.
Oh,
First of all, the legislation that was submitted to the finance people at the county finance committee was simply placeholder language, and everyone sort of freaked out about it because it really didn't seem to be in line with what the mental health board was understanding or expecting, if that's fair. And in my conversations with a variety of people, what I've come to understand is this: the flaw in the language that the county board has authorized that created us, the problem is there is no direct explanation of how the money that has been collected and who we are going to recommend to the county board for allocation, how that money actually gets dispersed. Okay, there are no rules that govern the dispersal of that tax money, because within the Counties Act, there's no direct reference to our sales tax. Okay, there are no rules. And the simple fix to that is simply the language that Chuck had proposed, which is if you've already authorized a sales tax, the sales tax shall be administered pursuant to the Community Mental Health Act provisions. In other words, it would be administered in the same way that a mental health board authorized under the Community Mental Health Act would be administered. And that has all the rules and all the methodology that the county already knows how to file. I think previously we had been told, and I think the county also believed, that they just had authority to disperse the money. And I don't think that that's what the resolution by the county board does. And this would fix it. It would give us the correct rules. And it's a simple fix. So.
okay. So the next, we're not leaving this proposed language, but my question is, for the proposed language, then for the county board ordinance that we also have as an action item, it sounds like, according to what Tim is saying, we're too late to propose language.
No. That's not true.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that.
No, what the committee looked at, the finance committee looked at, because we were listening to that, okay?
Okay,
Finance committee did was they made their decision on the basis of the space holder language. And they
oh,
moved to say, no, we're opposed to this. Okay, so we're not in bad space at all.
okay.
In regard to that. Wendy, your mute is on again.
Okay. In fact, what I suspect we should probably think about doing is simply submitting this parallel language back to the finance committee for them, if they are going to consider doing this by ordinance, that they use this same language.
Right, that's,
Right.
that makes sense.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so I will
Tim,
need a
does-
motion. Go ahead.
Yes.
Tim,
Okay.
did you have something? No? Okay. All right, so getting back.
Bill's,
Bill's hand is up. Mary
Oh,
Ann.
Bill, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to ask, just clarifying question. So are we good with a county ordinance, or do we need state legislation, or do we need
yes,
both?
we need state legislation ultimately. At least a county ordinance would be of use,
Okay.
you know, but
We need them
ultimately
both.
we probably need an ordinance. It doesn't change the Mental Health Act. It simply explains how the mental health sales tax fund should be administered.
Okay. And is there any pressure of timing for us?
That's beyond my knowledge. Maybe Jason knows.
You know, I don't think there's a timeline right now, Bill, that we're up against, but it's, again, it's just a matter of wanting to clear it up and as viciously as we can.
Well, also the question is, how do we disperse the money that is sitting in the coffers right this minute?
Right. Right.
We hope to do it well.
Well, but the question is it enough that the county board has already approved X million dollars for our budget?
Correct.
Or is there an additional hoop that needs to be traversed?
Yeah.
To legally disperse the funds? And frankly, my understanding is that is up in the air, which is why I think an ordinance might be called for. I don't know. Tim, what do you think?
To my knowledge, we just submit, just like with regular county things, we just submit order or a budget ticket, and then they'll send out the check. But I'll get the specifics on that.
See, that's where there's a concern that
But we haven't had any concern up till now in regards to using our budget as approved and
Right.
checks being and paying, the county paying the bills. So
Right.
the way that they understand it and we understood it, putting the budget together, we had $8.8 million for the use of grants. And
Right.
yeah.
And we asked specifically about, what we're talking about right now. Is there a way that we need to do something to keep the records clear and all those types of things? So we've been having that ongoing discussion since we first started.
Yeah. And at least the last conversation I had with Angie Goro, who is, but in on this, and actually she was part of the first ordinance that was created, and that was that it's assumed and known within the county board that these funds, these designated mental health funds, are only to be used for mental health purposes.
Right.
And so therefore, what we're doing in the way of the process that we have created, in the process of implementing, should fit all of that, so that we shouldn't. There are no known impediments at this point that would keep us from getting the grants that we're talking about.
The funding fund. Okay, so for the action item, I need a motion to accept the proposed language of Chuck Prorock for the Senate Bill 2278.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, Dick, and then Dr. Gorski seconded. I'll do a roll call. Mary Ann Abadi, yay. Dick Cooner. Dick couldn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Danielle Angileri,
Yes.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Dr. Bill Gorski,
yes.
Dr. Terry Giardini,
Yes.
Dr. Julie Morris,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors,
Yes.
and Linda Sanquist is absent. Okay, so we do we passed the proposed language for Senate Bill 2278. And the next discussion in an action item is a proposed language for county board ordinance. And Wendy, as she explained, the language should be the same because we want it very clear and concise. So that would be a motion, but we can entertain discussion at this point if anyone has any comments. Hearing none, can I have a motion for the proposed language for county board ordinance to be the Chuck Prorock language that
So
we,
moved.
okay. Second,
Second by Julie.
Dr. Morris, okay. Roll call, Mary Ann Abadi, yes. Dick Cooner,
Yes.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Danielle Angileri,
Yes.
Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors,
Yes.
and Linda Sanquist. Okay, and now moving down to our grant schedule update. And so enter Jason.
He's muted.
No, I don't see his mute, but I can't hear him. Jason?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I had so many wonderful comments in the earlier part of the discussion, I guess, that were not captured, so. Only kidding, I didn't say anything, Danielle. I'd like to preface this by saying, especially for all of the organizations who spent so much time writing these really well-done applications, that as I'm, they're seeing grant schedule update on the agenda and probably getting a little nervous. Let me just start by saying the changes that are being recommended today do not impact the funding cycle or the program year. The intention is to be able to still issue awards for a June 1st start date for the program year. However, upon speaking to the 5 board members who have been doing a wonderful job and spending a lot of time reviewing these applications, I've heard from some board members in some cases up to 2 hours reviewing a single application because they are so detailed and with so much information and content in them that really unanimously all of those members felt that it would be beneficial to have some more in-depth conversations over the coming weeks about some of the content within the applications and maybe needing a few conversations that might be hours in length to go through application by application. So getting beyond just scoring them, but then really starting to dive in and looking line item by line item within some of these budgets at what are the components that should be funded and what are some of the components that maybe should not be funded. So with that, there have been some recommended changes to the schedule that we previously approved. And so adding into our previously approved schedule would be, instead of going right to a special board meeting next week on the 14th, there would be some scheduled times for board members who have done evaluations to meet with me and some members of my staff team in groups of 1 or 2 and go through these applications in much more detail and start to put together some drafted work plans for the applications that were received. And then hoping with a number of open slots available next week that the following week we'd be able to present a draft packet to the rest of the board members, and I could make myself available for some time for all of the other board members to walk through that with you one-on-one, to then get your feedback and any questions you have, and kind of in an iterative process, bring that back to the board members who have done the evaluations, make any changes that are necessary, and be prepared to bring a full recommendation packet with drafted work plans and any amended budgets to the May 3rd board meeting, at which time, I'm sorry, May 5th board meeting, at which time there would be a vote taken. And then as you'll see in our cycle, we actually had a little bit of buffer time anyway. So by approving those in May and getting those funding agreements out early in May, that still should allow for us to hit that June 1st deadline. You know, even if the checks aren't all issued exactly on June 1st, I know it's with many grants that I've worked on before and been awarded, you know, sometimes the contract year, program year might start for a grant and the check might not be received, you know, for a week or 2 later. And generally people, you know, organizations can still start their work, and that's okay.
So we need a motion to approve the new schedule, which, Bill?
I so move, Marianne.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, that was simple. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Terry. So we have a first and a second motion to approve the grant schedule update. So I will do roll call once again. Marianne Abadi.
Question,
Yes.
Marianne, Tim has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tim. I was reading, so.
Mhm.
Yes.
I was just looking at the schedule, so there's no meeting on May 3rd, it's May 5th.
Yeah, sorry, I miscommunicated that. It's May 5th, and the schedule says May 5th for the meeting. I believe that.
I got May 3rd on here.
May 3rd was, I think, previously reported as the date that grant announcements would be made,
Okay.
because that's the first Monday.
Yeah.
But with this new timeline, we would vote on May 5th, and then announcements would be made after that May 5th board meeting.
Oh, okay. I see now.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Dick Cooner, did you say yes? I didn't, did I call? I did myself, but did I do you?
You're muted, Dick.
You're muted. Dick?
Excuse me. I do approve.
Okay, thank you. Danielle Angelari,
Yes, please.
Dr. Copeland,
Ooh.
Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors,
Yes.
Linda Sandquist. Okay, so we have an updated grant schedule. And then number 5, four-year officer. And so Julie, I'm gonna kind of turn it over to you at this point.
Sure. As the FOIA officer, I wanted to put this on the agenda because I am announcing that I will be resigning from the board effective after this meeting today. There's 2 main reasons. The first one is that I was planning to resign because I am retiring as a public educator at the end of June. and I'll be moving out of the area. So I will not be able to maintain my seat. And then the second reason, the reason I'm retiring or resigning now is because I'm affiliated in my position, in my work position, with at least one of the grant applications. And so I don't want to be stand in the way of them being considered. So I'm going to step down from my role from this board, in which case then we will need to appoint another FOIA officer. So.
Well, we sorely will be missed. I can tell you, this is the inaugural board, and I think, historically it's going to have some definition just because we, launched this kind of tremendous undertaking, and you've contributed greatly, and I thank you for your time and effort.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it.
It's been a great experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Julie, you'll be missed. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
It's been a great experience. I appreciate it. So good
So-
luck to the group.
We'll need that, we'll keep you posted, so.
Okay.
But we do need FOIA officers. So I know at one point Tim thought he would take it. I'm not trying to, tell you, Tim, that you have to take it, but.
Sorry, Tim. Sorry about that.
I'll do it.
You'll do it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So moving on to our discussion items. I think in your packet, I know in your packet, you all received the Public Officials Act. And Jason, I kind of, because you've had the most communication with the attorney, I'm gonna let you go into more depth about this.
Sure. Well, in some ways, I actually don't want to go in depth with it because I don't want to in any way misconstrue what I'm saying as a legal opinion, since I am not in any way licensed to give a legal opinion. But what I would encourage you to do is read the Public Officials Act and all of the accompanying correspondence that the Mental Health Board's legal counsel did provide. And there were two situations that were specifically addressed because of, again, no direct financial benefit, but because of the potential for indirect financial benefit, as Dr. Morris mentioned with her particular situation. So this is, and just to be clear, this is differentiated as being something different from what the board previously discussed as it related to affiliations. At that point in time, we were discussing the requirements of the Community Mental Health Act and the board's bylaws, which state that no organization who has a member of the county, the mental health board who is employed or a board member of that organization may receive any funding. So we did not have any applications that violated that policy. However, there were some potential indirect benefits that could have been, by organizations for whom a board member, Dr. Moore's case, was affiliated. And so that was addressed with legal counsel and an opinion was provided, and Dr. Morris made the decision that she felt was most appropriate for that. So I would just, again, encourage you to read that if you have not already, with the corresponding legal opinion that was sent. And if you, in looking through any of the applications or the list of applicants, have any concerns about any indirect benefit with an organization that you may in some way be affiliated with, and you'd like that to be addressed with the legal counsel, then I would encourage you to please give me that information as soon as possible so it can be, we can receive a legal opinion for that particular issue or situation.
Any questions or concerns or comments? Okay. So moving on to our second and actually our last discussion item is the work plans and affidavit templates.
So essentially, and I put these as discussion items because it's not a new action today, but essentially following the process that we have already previously agreed upon, that there would be specific work plans required for each of the funded organizations. And essentially just what I've done is I've looked at what other mental health boards use for that and created a draft template for our board. And then what we will be doing is over the coming weeks and going through these applications, creating a work plan for each one of the potentially funded organizations. And so maybe I could just walk through the components of that. And if there's any feedback on that, today would be a good time to mention that. But essentially, you know, it would highlight the basic proponents or components of the application in terms of the priority areas and the target populations. One of the most important things in the work plan would be the ability to create special conditions. So if we want to fund something, but there's a particular component of it that needs to be adjusted to fit our strategic plan or our funding policy, we could create a special condition, and special conditions could also have a specific due date. So it might not just be a broad special condition by the end of your program, you need to do this, but it could even be by July 1st, this needs to happen in order for this proposal to be funded in full. Then there is also essentially an opportunity to list out the specific outcomes, both the system capacity outcomes and individual and family outcomes that will be required to be reported on, and those reports will happen quarterly for each program.
Hey, Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Danielle and or I have a question. Danielle.
Oh, where's Danielle? I don't see. Oh, there you are. Yes, Danielle.
I was just saying, I have to jump off of here, but thank you all for everything.
Congratulations on your shot.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's my second one, so I'm a little bit nervous, but
Yeah,
I'll be okay.
you'll be fine.
Bye, guys.
I have a question. Again.
Sure.
Jason, do you foresee any scenario in which a special condition would be difficult for an organization to meet, and that could result in some difficulty in them accepting the grant? Or, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine examples of that that could potentially be stumbling blocks. Maybe I'm putting too much into it.
It certainly is not the intent to try to create barriers that would disallow funding for an application, but I think it's just, you know, rather than taking a full up or down, if there's maybe one component of an application that's not compliant with the board's funding policy, that could be omitted and the rest of the application could potentially be funded. So I mean, that's more of the intent.
Okay.
But with that being said, if a prospective applicant saw the work plan and the funding agreement and pushed back on it and said, well, there's no way we could possibly meet the objectives with this special condition, then that could be revisited by the board. I mean, it may not allow for a May approval. It may have to then be readdressed in the June meeting, but that certainly would be, you know, that certainly could be addressed. It's not like we then could not revisit the work plan and discuss an amendment to it or change to it.
Got it. Thank you. That's what I was thinking, right? So appreciate that.
And so really the last kind of important component of it is listing out all of the specific positions that will be funded by the grant, and then the percentage of the full-time equivalency for each one of those positions and the qualifications that are necessary or required for that position. And of course, all of the grant applications will be reviewed and their content certainly appreciated for recognizing what qualifications are required for positions that are being funded. And then the affidavit is actually something that was recommended by legal counsel in reviewing our funding agreement, that there be prior to the quarterly payments that go out, some type of statement signed by the organizations, essentially establishing that they are still providing the services that they agreed upon.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Well, again, those of us that have reviewed the grants, and I shouldn't say reviewed, scored, evaluated, I've never been so excited. I mean, in terms of what quality this is going to bring to the people living with mental illness in our community. It really, so many of these open up access. It allows people to really have so many more options for counseling and just so many valuable services that it's exciting. That's all I can say. So I'm looking forward to actually getting the funding out of the door and, seeing the beginning of this system created. I think we've got a lot of work to do before it happens. Even though we've done a lot, we have a lot more to do. And I think making the final decisions is going to be really a challenge because they were all excellent. So in many ways, so it was really rewarding to read all of them. So I have nothing in terms of other matters. Bill?
Two things, Mary Ann. One is I would like to thank all of you who have spent so much time as evaluators. It's just incredible the work you put into it and your expertise. Myself, for instance, when it's time to go over with Jason those recommendations and those thoughts, I'm just so appreciative of the time and effort. So thank you for that. And the second item is to once again thank Julie for her time with us, and she will be missed. It's too bad this has all been virtual for so long. We couldn't get together and get to know each other better. And wish her the very best, of course, in the future. And but I do wonder about, is there a process for adding an additional board member? Not that there's a decision to be made, but assuming that would need to take place so that we have an odd number of people. Odd, I don't mean odd, but in numbers odd, would seem appropriate.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because that is a good agenda item under other matters. I think it would be helpful if anyone on the board knows first-handedly, and now that we know how the person cannot be affiliated in, it's kind of going to be more challenging to find people that have, at least the passion and the understanding of mental illness and substance abuse that aren't somehow connected with an agency or board of their own already. So I think that it would be really great if each of us could kind of look at possibilities that we've had, we know, because I think it would be helpful to the chairman to get some ideas. And just, this is really my own editorial on the process. I feel that those of you that are reading these grants and these proposals and don't really have a lot of mental health experience, it would be overwhelming to me. I mean, because the detail, and I think that it is very, very important that we get individuals that do have that basic experience and can kind of cut through a lot of things. Not everyone needs that. We need people like we have right now, but I do think it would be helpful to have more representation of people that have direct mental health experience or substance abuse experience. So that's just my little thought process. So, but I think we need to kind of have a list of people we want to offer up for good candidates.
I see Tim has his hand
Tim
up,
has
but
hand
I'm assuming we're just making a recommendation to the chairman then,
That would
Yes.
all it would
Correct.
because
Yeah.
he appoints. Okay.
Yeah, so we recommend to the chairman, plus we gotta remember, they have to still maintain the same qualifications that Julie holds as being one
That's
of
right, the backgrounds, exactly.
the same type of background.
Because you are representing a segment of, the school system, but you can't, it's very contradictory. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
So that's where the qualifications and the requirements to be on the board makes it tough to find people, just because most of the time those same people are on the boards that want to receive funding.
I
And I
know.
was gonna say maybe we could look to see how we could change some of that so we could get quality candidates to be on the board. Otherwise, it's gonna be too difficult to get those people on the board.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's something else we may want to bring up to Senator Stottleman.
Well, I don't know. This is, it's a criminal code as well as, what is it, Jason? It's both the public act.
It's the ethics or something.
Yeah, Public Officials Act and then the Community Mental Health Act. So they both kind of intersect for this.
Yes, because if you're working with somebody from a school district, if you're
Right, yeah.
working with somebody from a school district, I mean, we're going to somehow be connected
Oh, absolutely.
way.
Yeah.
Right.
So there has to be a line that can still have that voice, but at the same time, there has
I agree. We even talked about abstention, but the lawyers,
yeah, because we talked about originally, I mean, we weren't directly financially
absolutely.
receive service, so our kids or families or whatever might receive services, so that's difficult. Yeah.
It is. It's complicated. So, okay.
I move for adjournment.
Okay, and we need a second, and then I have to do the roll call. Oh, Tim, thank you for the second. Mary Ann, yes. Dick Kunert,
Yes.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Danielle is gone. Danielle Angelari, Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors,
Yes.
and Linda Sandquist. Okay, well, Julie, you take care, and we certainly, you'll be missed. That's all I
Good luck,
can say.
Julie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck to you
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Enjoy
much.
your retirement.
I will.
Yeah,
I plan
that
to.
you will.
Nice.
I know
I will.
you will, but you take
Yes.
care. All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.